What's up next?
Up next is from Karen Jacobs. I was reading an article that was saying that The Secret Life of Pets 2 was actually going to open bigger than X-Men Dark Phoenix on June 7th weekend. I swore it must have been a typo, but I looked elsewhere and it seems true. What has gone so wrong for the X-Men franchise that the final movie in the series can't even open at number one on its opening weekend?
It's called X-Men Apocalypse, is kind of what went wrong. You had a changing of the guard a little bit. That movie wasn't so good. This is also a movie, X-Men Dark Phoenix, that has had questionable... Then they put out a great one, but their first couple of trailers were very questionable. Like, what the hell is this? On top of that, you've got, drama and confusing of the audience. It's on now its third release date right now. It was supposed to come out, I believe it was November of 2018. Then it was supposed to come out in February of 2019. Then it got pushed again to the current incarnation where it is and where it does look like it's finally going to open. You have some people perceiving as a recycled plot from a previous X-Men movie. You have, it just, there's a lot of things working against it. And again, if you're coming off a position of strength, you're doing okay. They're coming off of X-Men Apocalypse, which I'm a big X-Men fan. I'm a big X-Men movie fan. And I love The Age of Apocalypse is my all-time favorite comic book storyline. All time. That movie was disappointing. Now, some people may love it, and that's awesome. I celebrate that. But for me, I was tremendously disappointed in that, and I was ready to move on from it. The Dark Phoenix thing was interesting. You got a first-time director in there, all that kind of stuff. So it leaves you in a place where it's not going to get the results that you want. Now, let's put this in context, and what are the projections right now? Right now, they're saying that X-Men is tracking for a $50 million opening, making it one of the lowest openings ever for an X-Men film. And maybe part of this is that everybody knows this is it. This is it for this incarnation of X-Men. Like, maybe people are just going to wait for the new X1. Secret Life of Pets 2, on the other hand, is tracking for a $65 million opening. Now, keep in mind, Secret Life of Pets, the first one was a big hit. It's a charming, I'm a dog guy. It's a charming, delightful movie for pet owners. It's not the best animated film in the world, but it was really charming and really nice. It's a family-friendly film. It's a big CGI film. You're going to expect something out of that. So I don't think it's the biggest story in the world that X-Men is expected to fall to Secret Life of Pets 2. I don't think there's a lot of dishonor in that. To me, the bigger issue is the number, is like 50. That, to me, is the story. I think it's fine that you lose to a big family-friendly film like Secret Life of Pets 2. No dishonor in that. But for an X-Men film right now, to open at $50 million, this, to me, is really going out on a pretty considerable whimper at this point. Rob, let me ask you this. What do you think is the bigger issue here? Do you think the bigger issue is that X-Men, a big comic book film, isn't going to win its opening weekend? Or do you think the bigger issue is it's only projected to make about $50 million on its opening weekend?
Well, I think you're right. The 50 million projection is pretty shocking for this franchise. And even Apocalypse made over $500 million worldwide.
Yeah.
And before that, Days of Future Past did very, very well. I mean, it made $750 million
Magnificent
worldwide.
Film.
Love that movie a lot. And I really like this new cast that started with X-Men First Class. I'm shocked by it, but not surprised by where they're going. After we see Endgame, even with the trailers getting better, this movie looks small. Like, it feels small. Days of Future Past, they had to change history. Apocalypse for its faults, even though I really liked it. Apocalypse, it was huge, world-destroying, again, apocalyptic. And this movie, which should be like the zenith of all the X-Men movies, dealing with the most beloved X-Men story, most famous X-Men story of all, really, the Dark Phoenix storyline, it looks really down to earth when the storyline is very cosmic and huge in nature, and it didn't look like they sort of did that. So in comics, the way I love Star Trek, I love the X-Men reading the comics. I mean, they're like my comic book equivalent of Star Trek. And I wanted this movie to be huge. I wanted to make $1 billion. And I haven't been able to muster any enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, and it seems they haven't been able to muster any momentum. They haven't been able to muster any buzz. The early words coming out, of course, is that the film is probably terrible, that we've all, I'm hoping that's not the case. A lot of things working against it. All we've got left now at this point is let's wait and see. Like, hopefully we'll go see. I'll be there opening night. Hopefully we'll go in there. We'll come out going, we were worried about nothing. This movie's awesome. Hopefully,
Yeah.
but it's not looking good.
I mean, it just looks. And also, one of the things that I always want to be intellectually stimulated by the premise of a movie.
Right.
Like if a movie has an interesting premise that I might not be interested in overtly, but if the premise seems interesting, I'd be like, oh, I'll go see that. This movie it just seems to me like Sophie Turner turns evil, and that's it. Like, and she's going to take on her friends. But beyond that, that seems a little bit thin, even though the Dark Phoenix story. Is there more going on in this movie? Is there more at stake other than it feels good when she's bad?
I do like that line, though.
I do too.
And I like
but
the way she says
But
it.
I'm like, there's nothing more. I'm like, okay, I get that part of it. That's why it's called Dark Phoenix. But you haven't convinced me that I'm going to have any more enriching element to this plot. I mean, I know this might sound weird, but I want to feel that there's more meat on the bones of this movie, that the X-Men have always been interesting and philosophical about their dilemma, that they're people that were oppressed and they're rising up. This looks like a problem that only the X-Men have. Like, so what if Dark Phoenix is evil and she wants to kill you? You'll take her out. How does this affect the rest of the world? Or does it?
I don't care about that, to be honest, but here's something, going to your point, something they've touched on in the trailers that I think they should have expanded a lot more on in the trailers, because it speaks to bigger themes like you're talking about, is that, okay, she's going bad. Focus your trailers on the philosophical dilemma that this presents everybody else. She is our friend. She is a victim of this, blah, blah, blah. Do we need to save her? No, she is a threat. She is now destructive. She's gone bad. We need to destroy her. They've touched on that in the trailers, but to me, they've not focused on that enough. What the questions that get raised by the scenario, you should have focused more on that, and maybe, just maybe, it might have drawn in people's interest a little bit more, but
And
I
it
don't know.
doesn't look like she's grappling with this issue too much. She's kind of embracing her darkness. It feels good. And Jessica Chastain's like, hey, man, just unleash, girl. Take out your friends. Kill everybody. What's wrong with that?
If Jessica Chastain told me to do that, I'd probably do it too.
Well, that's
because
true. As
it's
long
Jessica
as she
Chastain.
I mean, she's a redhead, and I love my redheads. Why would you not? Why would you take her red hair away?
Well, we'll find out.
Why?
We'll find out.